Today, we're going to embark on a journey to discover the haunting beauty of abandoned castles. These majestic structures once stood proud as symbols of power and wealth, but now they lie in ruins, forgotten by time. But their stories still live on, and it's our mission to bring them back to life. So, come with us as we explore the history and mystery of abandoned castles. Get ready for a tale of knights, kings, and enchanted fortresses. These abandoned castles may have been deserted long ago, but they're still must-see spots. Enjoy a virtual peek at these spectacular ruins. Pidhirtsi Castle. Location: Pidhirtsi, Ukraine. Once considered one of the finest castles in Europe, Pidhirtsi Castle was built in the 17th century by the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth's crown hetman Stanisław Koniec-Polski, according to Discover Ukraine. Part of the Golden Horseshoe tourist route, this impressive Renaissance-style stone castle located in western Ukraine was used in the filming of D'Artagnan and Three Musketeers in 1978. If you're a cinema buff, you won't want to miss these movie and TV filming locations you can actually visit. Hamilton Palace. Location: Uckfield, England. Originally planned to be the residence of a controversial real estate tycoon, this unfinished mansion is larger than even Buckingham Palace. Construction began in 1985 but was never completed. Now sitting untouched for decades, it's been called the Ghost of Sussex. And that's not even the creepiest thing about it. The millionaire who built it was imprisoned for 10 years on charges of organizing the murder of a business rival. The property itself contains its own mausoleum and is surrounded by threatening signs warning off trespassers. Ballycarbery Castle. Location: Kerry, Ireland. This ivy-clad abandoned castle near the water's edge in County Kerry was built around the 16th century. The stone walls are the only things from it that have endured the sands of time. The edifice was severely damaged in the mid-1600s when Oliver Cromwell's troops attacked it with cannon fire. Local farmers subsequently took some stones for their own building projects. Bodiam Castle. Location: Bodiam, England. Bodiam Castle, among the most famous abandoned castles in England, was built in 1385 by one of King Richard II's knights, who survived the Age of the Black Death and was a contemporary of Chaucer. The castle was constructed for protection in battle, with thick armored walls, a portcullis, and even a moat. It weathered several wars before falling into ruin and was eventually bequeathed to the National Trust in 1926 for preservation and opened to the public for tours. Today, the castle remains a hot spot for history buffs and tourists. With fog rising off the moat, this castle is equal parts eerie and historically interesting. Castle of Cactus. Location: Cactus, Slovakia. Castle of Cactus, built in Slovakia in the 13th century, was the home of Elizabeth Bathory, dubbed the Bloody Countess. Accused of torturing and killing more than 600 young girls, and according to legend, bathing in their blood in an effort to stay young and beautiful forever, Bathory was sentenced to life in prison. Today, despite its dark history, this site is a lot less macabre. Łapalice Castle. Location: Łapalice, Poland. Despite being unfinished and abandoned, Łapalice Castle is one of the largest privately owned residences in Poland. Although it looks ancient, construction actually began in the 1980s. Sculptor Piotr Kazimierczak wanted it as a house and studio, but progress stopped when the sheer size of the project caused financial and legal problems. The abandoned castle has 365 windows, 52 rooms and 12 turrets to symbolize the number of days, weeks and months in a year. Now a popular site for graffiti and still in legal limbo, the castle's future is uncertain. But Kazimierczak still hopes to finish construction and move in one day. The structure is considered unsafe, but brave tourists and locals still explore at their own risk. Château Gaillard. Location: Les Andelys, France. Gaillard Castle, known in French as Château Gaillard, was a 12th century castle on the Andelys cliff overlooking the Seine River. Built by Richard I of England, also known as Richard the Lionheart, the castle was eventually conquered by Philip II of France in 1204. Frankenstein's Castle. Location: Multal, Germany. This 13th century medieval castle was dubbed Frankenstein's Castle long before Mary Shelley penned her Gothic tale. Frank refers to an ancient Germanic tribe, and Stein means stone, and many edifices in Germany actually bear the name Frankenstein. That said, this particular castle is the one most associated with the famous book. In fact, since the 17th century, Frankenstein's castle in southern Hesse has been the inspiration for many legends, according to National Geographic. Be sure to brush up on the story of physician and alchemist Johann Conrad Dippel, who was born in the castle and invented an animal oil he claimed transferred souls between dead bodies. Havré Castle. Location: Mons, Belgium. Havré Castle was constructed on the remains of a 12th century feudal fortress. Throughout its storied history, it belonged to a number of esteemed families and welcomed a bevy of luminaries, including painters Peter Paul Rubens and Anthony van Dyck, Marie of Hungary, Marie de' Medici, Prince Eugene of Savoy, and the Duke of Marlborough. Over the years, the castle was sold, bought, and ultimately abandoned. Kellie's Castle. Location: Batu Gajah, Malaysia. The unfinished castle of William Kellie Smith, a Scottish rubber plantation owner, is one of Malaysia's most interesting structures. Smith had a grand vision for the castle, which he built for his family. The plans included a 6-story tower, an indoor tennis court, a rooftop entertainment center, and a wine cellar. Ironically, it would have featured Malaysia's first elevator, but en route to purchase it, Smith died of pneumonia. His sudden death ultimately prompted his forlorn wife to sell the property, which was later abandoned. Ogrodzieniec Castle. Location: Podzamcze, Poland. Since the 14th century, Ogrodzieniec Castle has been celebrated as an iconic medieval structure that defended the Polish crown. During the Polish-Swedish War, the castle endured a devastating fire, and its residential section suffered irreparable damage. But it remains a beloved, enchanting sight. The castle's magical setting on a hill in Poland's Jura chain has inspired painters and filmmakers, and it attracts a growing number of visitors, according to Poland's tourism website. If it looks familiar, that may be because the castle has made cameos in a local Polish TV series, Roman Polanski's The Revenge, and an Iron Maiden video. Menlo Castle. Location: Galway, Ireland. Located a short walk from Galway, Menlo Castle was built in the 16th century and was home to English nobles from the Blake family. Unfortunately, a fire destroyed most of the castle in 1910, and it has been abandoned since then. The abandoned castle has transformed from a stone facade to a vibrant green as it's become covered by vines and nearly indistinguishable from the greenery surrounding it. Dunnottar Castle. Location: Stonehaven, Scotland. It's believed that this romantic clifftop ruin in Scotland was built in Pictish times, between 5000 BC and 700 AD. Of course, it had many residents over the years, including the 4th Earl Marischal in the 1500s, a guardian of Mary, Queen of Scots, who was thought to be the wealthiest man in Scotland at the time. After many dramatic centuries worth of battles and betrayals, the castle was confiscated by the government in the 18th century. Saranta Kolones. Location: Paphos, Cyprus. Saranta Kolones translated into English means 40 columns. The original Byzantine castle was built on 40 granite columns, according to the travel website of Cyprus, and it's thought to have been built in the 7th century. In 1223, it was destroyed by an earthquake and later abandoned. Caerlaverock Castle. Location: Dumfries, Scotland. A visit to Caerlaverock Castle will reveal a medieval fortress complete with a moat, battlement, and twin-towered gatehouse. Visitors can enjoy an informative exhibition on siege warfare, and in the summer and on weekends in the winter, they can visit the castle's tea room for a treat. Bannerman's Castle. Location: Dutchess County, New York. You don't have to buy a plane ticket to Europe to find a Gothic-looking abandoned castle. To visit one closer to home, head to New York. Just take a boat ride on the Hudson River, about 60 miles north of Manhattan, to visit Bannerman's Castle on the island of the same name. The 19th century artifact was erected to house businessman Francis Bannerman's military goods and also used as his family's summer residence. Sammezzano Castle. Location: Lecce, Italy. Built in 1605, Sammezzano Castle is a Moorish-style structure that sits atop a hill near Florence. To say that this abandoned castle is ornate is an understatement. It has a whopping 365 unique rooms, one for each day of the calendar year. Yes, you read that right. They include the Peacock Room, which boasts a rainbow of colors and geometries, and a White Room, resplendent with Moroccan mosaic-tiled floors. After World War II, this castle was turned into a luxury hotel until it closed in the 1990s.